What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean 7904. If you want to get a little technical, 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It's going to start right now, kind of, sort of, somewhat a sprint slate, right? 6 of our 7 games start from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Now we have an 8:30 game. Last 2 games, the sites left off for savings. Don't have to worry about Portland and the Lakers and the Kings and somebody else plays. I forget who it is. Joining me today, you got Bobby Gomes, Bobby Bitcoin, Bobby Father, as well as Keith Eister. Keith, word in the street. I heard that you saw some spring training yesterday. How'd that work out for you? Was that fun times?
I did. Yeah. Went out and saw the Cubs. Justin Steele was phenomenal. Had a bunch of strikeouts. They were down most of the game, but Patrick Wisdom ended up walking it off. So it was a very exciting game. Not that wins matter in spring training, but it was a good time. He was in the game in the 9th inning. A lot of times they kind of get out of there at the 5th or 6th or 7th or so. And all right. And now official nickname for Patrick Wisdom. You want to make a submission as a Cub fan? I feel like you have an authority on this. I mean, his official nickname is P Wizzy. But
is that the official nickname, P Wizzy? Okay, that's what they call him in the locker room.
That's what Boog calls him, the play-by-play guy for the Cubs.
Okay,
but it's got to be the brain if we're picking. Sorry, I'm on the other side here.
No, that was my side. My side was the brain.
You're right. Yeah, the tooth is the correct one.
Wait, you said it's got to be the brain. Now you're saying the tooth is the correct one. Which one?
I forgot. I got them mixed up. Yes, the tooth.
Whichever one you're off, Dean.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Whichever one I wanted to be, you want to be on the other side. Is what I'm hearing. The tooth is a really intimidating. I don't want to pitch to the tooth. If I leave one over the middle of the tooth, he's really going to crank one for sure. But yeah, man, it's getting excited. I know you're a big Cub fan as well. I know you're excited. I'm in the nobody else cares, but I'm in the middle of my my auction draft. On my auction draft, my dynasty draft. I might ask you for advice at some point because I kept my 10 keepers, and we'll I got a pick coming up shortly.
That would be the best keeper play. It's keeping it to yourself.
How wild is it that 2 awesome pitchers are still like unsigned? Like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery just don't have a place to pitch at this point in the season. It's wild.
Scott Boras. So here's the thing. Blake Snell a couple days ago, maybe 2 or 3 days ago now, he dropped a tweet with eye emojis. You cannot, by Twitter rule, you cannot drop eye emojis and then not drop any news like 48, 72 hours later. You have to have news within 24 hours or delete your tweet.
It's got to be the Yankees, right? Like they're with the Garrett Cole stuff, like the Yankees have to sign one of those guys.
Well, I think that's what's happening because I thought it was, I don't want to say a lock, but very, very likely he was going to San Fran. I thought that was the likely destination, but with the Cole injury, Cortez, we're not sure. Rodon, who knows? We'll see. They could be a mess. Severino was a disaster last year. So they really, I think that right now Scott Boras is salivating. He's got like a voodoo doll of Garrett Cole right now. He's very excited that Garrett Cole is going to be out for at least a month or 2 months or so. But it's interesting because like from a fantasy perspective, you want him to go to San Fran, obviously. But I think I agree with you now. I think the pendulum has swung, and certainly Boras is using that against New York, and he's got some leverage now. And Montgomery will get signed somewhere. He's fine. Like he's a good pitcher. So someone will get him at some point. But that's all Scott Boras is doing. All right. Bobby, you care? You excited about baseball equally about as myself and Keith? Doesn't sound. You don't want me talking about my dynasty team. You don't want to hear that nonsense, which is fine.
No, I understand it. Baseball is my favorite DFS sport for sure. But for me, like talking dynasty, I have zero interest. All this news, I don't care until the day of the slate. Like Blake Snell, I want Blake Snell to sign somewhere because we need chalk Blake Snell nights as GPP players, I would say. So, yeah, looking forward to him definitely signing somewhere. I don't care where.
It's the old, Dave Potts. Jesus, good. He'll be coming out of hibernation soon enough. But the old Dave Potts rule, when Snell is chalk, you're supposed to fade him, and when nobody's playing him, you're supposed to get in. And there's nobody that has a bigger variance day in day out, pitching wise, than Blake Snell. I guess it was the old Robbie Ray rule, and it's been passed down to Blake Snell, I suppose. Robbie Ray, is he going to be back this year? He's still out with that Tommy John, I believe. So maybe we'll catch him.
Still working his way back, but yeah, San Francisco is a really good fit for him. So he might make a little comeback this year.
All right. Anything else going on in the chat before we talk about tonight's slate? Let's talk about tonight's slate. Several key pieces that are currently questionable. We may see Donovan Mitchell. He's got that knee. He's going to let us know, or maybe he doesn't let us know. He doesn't let us know on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, that means he's probably not playing. The Grizzlies are still playing games. Triple J is officially doubtful. I was really surprised to see Desmond Bane doubtful. It's like, oh, they're going to consider bringing this guy back this year? That's kind of shocking. Do not expect him to play tonight, but we haven't seen him in a long time. And okay, I guess we'll see him at some point, maybe, theoretically. And then Toronto, which is already, severely wounded, they have Gary Trent, who's got a groin, he's questionable, and they have another questionable piece. Quickly, which is the big one, is questionable too. So already Barnes is out, Pirtle's out. So I think they're dogs. I'm pretty sure that they're dogs tonight, which, yeah, they're 4-point dogs to the Pistons. This is the biggest favorite Detroit's been all season long, probably, and kind of rightfully so. Screenshot as far as the slates. Keith, I'll let you go first. What are you seeing? Obviously, again, we're leading off those last two games. I ran some optimals. I'll talk about that in a second as far as what is popping. And, the news is fluid. But you tell me, what are your thoughts as far as the old overview for tonight's 7-gamer?
Yeah, I think it starts with Luka Doncic. Just what he's been doing lately is incredible. 7 triple doubles in a row, I think it is, or something insane. Like he's putting up 70 fantasy points a night. Just absolutely insane stuff from Luka. The Toronto-Detroit game is popping quite a bit. 2 really bad defenses there. Injuries on both sides. The Toronto situation is particularly interesting. If we lose a guy like Quickly, Gary Trent, not as important, but without Quickly, a bunch of usage to go around. We've seen Grady Dick have a nice game in that spot before. Bruce Brown should be in for some solid minutes. He's still a little bit underpriced. So Toronto looking really good, like the other side of that game as well. And then the Memphis situation is the other big one. You kind of touched on it. They've just been injured all year. The problem is it's a really difficult rotation to figure out. Like, you need the starting lineup because they change it almost every game. What they do at point guard is very important, whether it's Kennard starting at point guard or Jordan Goodwin starting at point guard, or Jordan Goodwin is inactive. They do all kinds of crazy things there in Memphis. So Aldama and Stevens still questionable. I think you have to keep an eye on the Goodwin stuff too. I don't know exactly how many games he has remaining on his two-way, but I think it's still at the point where it's less games remaining than are remaining in the season. So we will probably get a couple more Jordan Goodwin inactives before the end of the season. Scottie Pippen Jr. back as well. That does impact.
I have him
the rotation.
questionable. Is he officially in? I thought he was just questionable.
He might be questionable still. I don't know.
You're all questionable in Memphis.
Yeah, it's a situation that's really difficult to manage, and especially with it starting after lock, we may not know. So we kind of have to just guess, but be willing to swap some things around once that starting lineup comes out and the injury news as well.
Toronto is already hitting, optimals as is. Like, but the funny thing is that 2 of those 3 players are Emmanuel Quickly and Gary Trent, who, would potentially not play tonight. They're also like de-incentivized to win. As far as the tanking stuff, like, that's a team that really wants to get some L's for, to have the right to their draft pick. It's protected up to a certain number. I think it's 6, 7, or 8. I'm not exactly certain. I propose this on Twitter, Keith. Just make every Grizzly 10K. Make every single one of them 10K, and that's it. We never talk about them ever again. Would you be fine with that?
I would be fine with that and make things much easier.
Just never discuss that going forward. It might screw up a showdown slate, but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, what do you want out here, Bobby? What do you got your eye on as far as the slate? Yeah, the Memphis stuff is insanity. It is sort of wild that Bane is doubtful. Like, I thought for sure, there's no reason they would bring him back, and maybe he'll come back for a couple games. Who knows? And he's not going to play consistently anyway. But yeah, Bobby, tonight's slate. What do you got? What do you want to add there for the people?
Yeah, I get my eyes on Tim in chat, chirping me a little bit about my cereal choice, Honey Bunches of Oats over whatever he liked. I'll take it every time. But
what did he like?
I have no idea. It can't be a good cereal if Tim likes it, I would imagine. Can't be a good cereal. But for the slate, Toronto, Detroit, like all these Detroit starters I like, with Thompson out now, Stewart, Fontecchio, those guys really stand out on the Detroit side. And then on Toronto, like all these guys are in play, especially if Quickly sits, not to reiterate everything that everyone else said. the Memphis starters, like figuring out if Goodwin or Trey Jameson's going to smash. I think that's the issue. Like pretty much with this team is like who's going to be the guy. I played Memphis last night. I was over on Jameson, was under on Goodwin. Wasn't happy about that, but I thought I should have had more Goodwin. Luka is the stud pay up that everyone's going to go to. I think there's like going to Jokic at 12K, I think is an interesting pivot in that regard. He's going to start earlier. Everyone's going to be backloading for Luka. I think that's an interesting GPP play. I like Pascal versus Chicago. He's someone that's standing out to me in projections. That's mainly the slate. Like those are the spots that I'm looking at, those games in general. No real interest in Brooklyn, Orlando. Kind of X that game, in my opinion. Yeah, everything else we'll kind of talk through.
You got Taylor and Will and Roth coming in about an hour or so. A reminder that today is Wheel Wednesday, which means, you go to the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, go to the live stream chat channel, and producer Steve, I believe producer Steve, there you go. Yeah, just hit the RotoGrinders avatar underneath this post. That way he knows to put your name on the wheel. We're going to spin that wheel in about 45 minutes or so. If your name pops up, you get yourself 1 week free of RotoGrinders Premium. Also, tomorrow I will be taking on a new challenger for my head-to-head challenge series. And I'll go ahead and drop this tweet in chat. Respond to the tweet and to convince me, tell me why I should select you as my next opponent. You beat me, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Easy. There you go. And it's not just basketball.
This is Dean's way of taking money off subscribers. I call into question this methodology.
You think I'm doing something nefarious? What kind of kickback am I getting? Explain how this pyramid scheme works.
I want to play my head-to-heads versus subs. That's what you're doing there, using your platform.
So I offer a $0. There's no actual money being exchanged. It's $0. So there's no finance, there's no Bitcoin involved, none of that. It's just a $0 contest, and if they beat me, they get themselves a week free. There's no strings.
I don't trust you. There's something on the back end. There's something on the back end.
No shenanigans.
There's always shenanigans.
Speaking of contests, by the way, congrats to looks like Brown Bank 24/7 took down the contest yesterday. The Tuesday contest. I don't know if I see there's some contact here in the chat. I don't know if Brown Bank has let Devin or Steve know what he wants for a prize, but you get yourself a week free of RG Premium or some RG swag. Contact Devin, contact producer Steve in the Discord channel. Shout out to you. That's on Tuesday. We do the Tuesday tournaments. I see the poll question in chat. Favorite cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Frosted Flakes, Captain Crunch, or Other. Other has to win, by the way. Like Other beats, like it just has to. Whatever your Other is. Like, what's the chances that's like somebody else's number one?
Tim's and I did Cinnamon Toast Crunch, so that shouldn't win.
Well, I thought I saw Tim's post in chat, and he put CTC. Like, is Tim that busy where he can't type out Cinnamon Toast Crunch? It's like CTC. Apparently. What is? Did he get hit really hard? Like I was trying to figure out what that was. And like how busy is Tim? Is he doing NHL projections right now? I don't know, but it did throw me off. And yes, Derek in chat said he smoked me. He did. Derek did shellac me last week, and he got himself. And there was nothing in the back end. I didn't get Derek's information or anything. Just to be clear, that's not what I'm doing. So it was just a perfectly fine. He won the contest. He got himself a week free, and then that's how it was settled. But yeah, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Frosted Flakes, Captain Crunch, and Other. And I think your answer was Other, right, Bobby? Because you wanted the Honey Bunches of Oats.
Yeah, I'm a huge Honey Bunches of Oats guy. Apparently, that's a boring cereal, according to Devin, but he eats it, so can't be that boring. You must enjoy it.
I like it too. I think that's on the board for sure. I think it's a solid answer. All the Bunches of Oats, the whole family's pretty solid. They have a variety pack.
I'm only almond. I'm only almond.
Strictly almond. All right, fair enough. I'm not going to besmirch the almond. The almond's good. Okay, let's go ahead and fully dive in. Keith, did you have your thoughts as far as your cereal? I see that they're asking there in chat.
Honey Bunches of Oats is a really good call with the almonds, of course. Cinnamon Toast Crunch would be the other answer. You have to switch it up though. I don't like that much sugar every single day, so that needs to be like a once a week thing. But Cinnamon Toast Crunch is a solid answer.
There you go. We all agree, mostly the three of us there. almonds, honey roasted. I want to see
We're
the other
definitely
options you can get.
contrarian too, because Eric likes it as well.
I did see Eric was touting that Blake Snell's going to sign with the Athletics, which I don't know what the odds on that are, but it's not happening. It's not.
How are they going to pay him?
Well, yeah, they might give him the franchise. I think that's how that's going to work. I'm not really sure, but all right. Yeah, optimals right now. Fontecchio is hitting it pretty hard. You know, the absence of Thompson. Thompson got scratched again. He's not playing ball today. So he looks pretty good. He had a good game last time. He was elevated as well. Good matchup versus Toronto. Toronto's defense has really hit the wall. Like I said before, Trent and Quickly are hitting optimals, and they're both questionable, so stuff can certainly change. And then even as a super cheapie, if you need it, Marcus Sasser. I'm not saying that's something I feel great about, but he's probably like the 3K guy, at least as of right now, looks best. 5 players, the first 5 players in my DK optimal stuff, as far as percentage-wise, are all in the same game, Detroit and Toronto. This is a game for DFSers. It's the only 7 o'clock game, Keith. I know we like to skip the 7 o'clock game when we can, get ourselves some more information. We tried that yesterday, and Josh Hart said, bad idea. You probably shouldn't have done that. Josh Hart now, I think he's tied for 3rd in the league as far as most triple-doubles. Maybe he's 4th. But he's got like 4 or 5 now this season.
He's not just like barely getting triple doubles either. He had like 19 rebounds. Like, dude is insane. Like, where'd this come from?
Best rebounding guard in basketball, right? I think he is. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I had a huge stance on Thompson, who I would put in that category, but he didn't show up for me yesterday.
Yeah, for a lot of us. He turned out to be really, really popular. Toronto takes on Detroit, 232.5. I guess we'll do our best with this one because, again, several key pieces are currently questionable. Detroit, like I said, they are a home favorite by like 4 points or so because Toronto is ravaged with injuries. No Boucher, no Barnes, no Pirtle, no RJ Barrett, and possibly no Trent and no Quickly. So that's their starting lineup, essentially, would be wiped away. As far as Detroit, they're fully healthy with the exception of Oscar Thompson. Yeah, Keith, I don't know if you want to do the if-then dance. I believe we have an if-then set up for the scenario here for at least Quickly being out. Kelly O looks pretty good, even though he's like 7K, which is wild. I love when we get these ridiculous prices on these ridiculous players, but they also make sense. But, Toronto and Detroit, where do you want to start here, Keith?
Yeah, Quickly is where I want to start if he's playing. He's been really good in Toronto, playing that point guard role. He's getting expensive, but the matchup against Detroit, fully justified price in this matchup. Bruce Brown is probably my second look here. Gary Trent is just a guy that I don't love to play. He's so scoring dependent. The price is now coming up a little bit on him as well. But if he's in there, he's certainly in play. If Quickly is out, you have to take a big look at this team. Grady Dick, I think, is the guy who would jump off the page, probably jumps into the starting lineup, still only 4,800. So he would definitely be there. I think Agbaji is playable if Quickly is out. Even Nwora off the bench, I think you could take a look at. But I basically have interest in the entire team if Quickly is out. With Quickly in there, it's mainly him and Bruce Brown with a little bit of Gary Trent sprinkled in. The Kelly O thing, I get it. The price, I think I can be off of Kelly O at this price. He's still in play, but I don't think I'll have a ton of him, at least on DK where he's center only.
We have an if-then set up for Quickly, but I don't believe we have one set up for Trent the way I'm seeing it right now. Trent would be awesome if, and again, I agree with you, your thought process of, and you probably heard me say it before, I do not like players that are really, really popular that are super dependent upon scoring. It's not an ideal situation, but that might be how it plays out. We'll see. Quickly was ruled out pretty quickly. Oh, geez, I didn't mean to do that, but just happened to work out. He was ruled out like it wasn't like to the bell. He was ruled out midday last time. But we have a Quickly doesn't go. Trent projected for 36 points. Bruce Brown for 34. I like him the most just because of his versatility and like he can get there just by scoring 10 points. He can also play 1 through 4. Also a revenge game, right? Isn't there? I think it's a Bruce Brown revenge game. It's a Kelly O revenge game too, I believe. Didn't both these guys play for Detroit? I think. Feel free to correct me.
Kelly O played for everyone.
Yeah, you got the Kelly O sources, don't you?
I do have Kelly O sources for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have sources for 7K Kelly O though.
Yeah. I didn't know Toronto. I think it was his hometown. I heard like somebody said, or maybe I read it somewhere when he signed with Toronto for a couple of years. Like that's his hometown. I was not aware of that. Figured TJ would tout that at some point. But yeah, Bobby, talk about Toronto because we can't. I don't think we can ignore this game. The 7:00 game, 232, big number, pretty tight. Detroit's just a 3-point favorite, and Toronto right now looks good, and they would look really, really appealing if we lose both Quickly and Trent. I kind of want one to play because I think I want to play that person. Yeah, but whatever. We'll know because it's 7:00. We'll get the news. If we don't get the news, crunch time, we'll get the news. But you want to give us like the different routes, the different paths you're considering for the Toronto side.
Yeah, so the big thing for me is Bruce Brown and what I want to do with Bruce Brown, if I want to play him or I want to be under the field on him. So if Quickly were to sit, he's obviously going to be someone who's going to project really well. He's projecting really well anyways. I do find it interesting, like they won't have a ball. They like a guy like Javon Freeman-Liberty. I know he was chalked the other night and busted for everyone. He would have to see more minutes, right? I know he had like a 6% usage rate, but you would imagine he would see more minutes. Obviously, we'd really like Grady Dick. I think he'd stand out the most. Jonte Porter coming off a hot night the other night at the center position is someone kind of negatively correlates with Bruce Brown pretty strongly. So in larger field stuff, I feel like he could see some minutes. So I'd be interested in him in larger field situations. Yeah, a lot of these guys, if Quickly plays, like I like Quickly. Trent's always interesting. Like I feel like Trent, Brown, and Dick I feel like it's there's something there where they probably all three of them probably can't get there together. Probably max 2 or 3 of those guys. Keith, how do you feel about that? Is that something you'd be willing to do, or?
I think Trent and Dick in particular would be the ones I would want to limit because they're both pretty scoring dependent. I think Bruce Brown could get there through other paths. Like he'll rack up some rebounds and assists as well. But I do agree with you on Trent and Dick.
Yeah.
Ownership, again, right now this stuff is fluid, and we have massive ownership on Quickly, who's 32%, who's questionable. And I think he's highly questionable because Toronto, again, probably doesn't want to win this game. They won't tell you this like flat out. You get them behind closed doors. You hook them up to the old lie detector. They want to lose this game.
What are they trying to tank for, though? This draft is terrible.
So, well, I mean, they have a first-round protected pick. I think it's got to be top 7 or so, and they're sort of in that cluster where they're like 4 or 5 back. So they need, if you figure the first 1 through 3, worst case scenario, they're going to get 4, 5, 6. So I think they got to be at least the 4th worst team beyond them. I don't have the tankathon pulled up. Let me see. The point is that they want to have they're currently 7th and they're tied with Memphis. Memphis won a game the other day, which is dangerous. That's why they're going to start benching even more people. But yeah, there's actual jockeying with Memphis and Toronto. Those are the 2 teams that are really tanking, I think. The other ones, they're basically pretty well set at this point. There's not much else you can do. I guess Charlotte and Portland too. But they have a first-round protected pick. So they essentially would like to get a few more ping pong balls. They would like to be worse than Memphis, and that's hard to be. You got it's dangerous. You could only win so many games, and you got to be worse than Memphis. And they both currently have 23 wins.
Ping pong balls. You get more ping pong balls, and then they fix the draft so New York can get the number 1
Here he goes. Was that a Patrick Ewing reference? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
David Stern. Supposedly the card was frozen. Like I never understood that one, but that was the conspiracy for New York to get Patrick Ewing. Isn't it like Ernst & Young? There's somebody back there watching. There's somebody monitoring, right? That's on the up and up, allegedly.
No one's on the up and up, Dean.
All right, Bobby. I look forward to your podcast on this and other topics. Detroit side, Keith, what do you got?
Yeah, lots of interest here as well. Cade is definitely a guy I want to get up to. I think Cade and Quickly being in the same price range is really interesting. So making that correct decision correctly is important. I think I prefer Cade slightly to Quickly. They're both great plays. Duren looks really solid as well. Toronto lacking size without Pirtle. Think he could have a absolute smash game in this spot. I don't hate Beef Stew either. He's been playing minutes. hasn't really had the production here recently, but he's only 5K, has power forward eligibility. I can grab a little bit of him. Fontecchio chalk is uncomfortable, but probably justified. Had a really good game without Asar in the last one, so good spot for Fontecchio as well. I don't think I necessarily like jam him in and try to get way over the field, but probably just play him about even with the field.
He's another guy that's pretty reliant on his three-pointer going in. I love Cunningham today. I love Duran today. I like way too much this game. I really do. Like, I feel like, Keith, we can put like 5 guys or 6 guys in this game, right? Is that insane? And then get Luka, maybe? Like, is that something we can do?
I think it's almost I think you almost want to if Quickly is out, just because Toronto will be cheap and it'll be easy to jam in multiple Toronto pieces. But even if Quickly is in there, just the game environment, I do think you could play 4 or 5 from this game.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up so the first optimal that I had was 2 Pistons, 3 Raptors, and Luka, and 2 cheap guys that are not in that game. But good thing. 7 straight games now with a triple-double, most of them at least 30 points as well. I saw the record is 11. I'm not saying he should be MVP. I'm just asking, like, how many more games? What if he gets a triple-double every game the rest of the season? Are we finally going to say, hey, maybe this guy should be MVP at some point? Because it's still very clearly, like, the books are saying it's Joker. It's just going to be Joker, and that's that. Is this something that you're monitoring at all, Keith? I mean, is this just me kind of keeping an eye on it? But it's just
I don't follow it closely. I know that team record plays into that quite a bit, and obviously the Nuggets have a much better record, so I think that's why Jokic is favored. But I mean, Luka's doing incredible things, so hard to argue against it.
Yeah, I wonder if the odds of he was like 8 to 1 like a week ago or so for MVP, which it just feels like it should be a little bit lower than that. He's 9 to 1 on DK. It's just like, all right, he just gets a triple double every single night. Yawn. Who cares? And SGA is in the middle at like 3 to 1, 4 to 1, depending on where you're shopping. And Joker is like minus 270, minus 300. Like, it's just a foregone conclusion. Did you have anything else to add here, Bobby, as far as the Pistons, or shall we move on? This is we spent a lot of time in this game, but I think this is like one of the most important games on the slate.
Yeah, so Trent is now doubtful. Just came across the wire, which definitely throws a wrench into things. I didn't see if Quickly was updated because TweetDeck wanted me to pay $168 to re-update my account, and I haven't done that yet. So if you guys have any news on Quickly, let me know. I just see
how much would it cost you?
$168 for TweetDeck.
I didn't get that update, but I love TweetDeck, and
I love TweetDeck. I'm paying it. I didn't do it yet. I just got it prior to hopping on the show.
You got kids. I know you want $1 million, but you got kids. So you got to prioritize stuff, right? Does the kid get the formula, or does you get some TweetDeck? You
get diapers or TweetDeck? It's a big decision. For me, I'd split Cade and Duran. I like all of these Detroit guys. They all project really well. I just think the 2 highest usage guys, I think they negatively correlate a lot in terms of their ceiling. So they're 2 guys that I'm definitely going to split in my builds. With Thompson out, Stewart and Fontecchio get the biggest bumps. You guys hit on that. I think both those guys are fine. Ivy has been playing sneakily well, so I think he's very much in play. Like I said, all of these Detroit guys, this game in general, everyone's kind of projecting really well. So a lot of people are going to have exposure to this game. Just be conscientious of how you're playing all of these guys. With Trent out, do we know who gets it seems like it's going to be Dick, right? He would be the guy that I think is going to pop the most. Just to cover that. If we get Trent and Quickly out, did we cover that? What would be the scenario there?
Quickly's probable. Quickly's going to play, and Trent's
going to play. Okay.
Doubtful. Yeah, okay. So Quickly's going to have an outrageous ownership number.
So is Brady Dick, I think.
Yes, probably. That seems to be a fair assumption. He draws the start there. He jumps in the 2. I guess Brown can play wherever. Yeah, Quickly, Dick, Brown, Agbaji, Kelly-O. That makes the most sense to you there, Keith?
Yep, definitely.
Do you like Quickly at mega ownership here? Because the spot is great.
Yeah, it's a great spot. I think I end up a little bit underweight on him to go overweight on Cade, but I mean, it's really hard to argue against him. They're both phenomenal plays. He could have 30% usage to go along with a bunch of assists in the spot. Like Trent is a shooter. Like he's taken 20 whatever percent usage off the floor. So there's going to be plenty of shots for Quickly for sure.
Yeah, and 30% might be conservative. Like that could possibly be conservative. Like I could see him taking 30 shots tonight. All right. Brooklyn, Orlando, this game much less appealing. 204 is the total. Orlando is about a 7-point favorite here. Who's in and who's out for this one? Orlando's perfectly healthy. So Orlando perfectly healthy. Generally speaking, not an appealing game. Brooklyn is getting, Cam Johnson's good to go. Ben Simmons, he went bye-bye. He's done for the year. But his career might be over. Who knows? We'll oversee him again. But, Bobby, this feels like a catch-me-up game. Brooklyn and Orlando. Do you like stuff here? If you want to get goofy in tournaments, sure, Banchero, I guess, can put up a 55. That's something he can do. But Orlando's perfectly healthy. The matchup against Brooklyn is just – they're not – Brooklyn's an inept offense. It feels – I don't want to say like a blowout. It's only a 7-point line. But nothing about this game is appealing to me. Do you want to sell me on something? You like this game?
I think you'd always play Paolo, Franz, Carter. Like they're always fine, but this isn't a game I'm getting too much. If I have to pick a favorite on the Brooklyn side, it would probably be Bridges, but that would be that's literally I'll probably have like 1 or 2% ownership. I'm not going to have a ton of this game in general.
Yeah, I only make so many lineups. I assume, Keith, you're rolling at your 20. We have any rules here? Are we Xing out the entire game? Are we it's not hard to get over the field. Ownership wise, this stuff will get updated. Jonathan Isaac gets 10%, which that's going to change. That's going to fall back once news comes in, once we get more Toronto stuff and we get an update. But like nobody in this game probably gets more than 5 or 6%. We poo-pooed it. Are you going to continue to poo-poo, or you have a contrarian take when it comes to Brooklyn and Orlando?
I'm going to continue to poo-poo it. Like, I don't like playing either one of these teams. Brooklyn is getting Cam Thomas back now, so everybody's basically overpriced on Brooklyn. Orlando plays slow, and they've been really good on defense this year. And then on the Orlando side, they just play too many guys, and none of them get a ton of run. Paolo is certainly playable, but I don't think I'm chasing that. We just talked about 2 awesome plays in the 8K range in the last game. I don't think I'll be over the field on anybody. I think Jonathan Isaac could be in play. He's been getting a little bit more, a few more minutes here recently. Played 19 in that last one. If we could just get Isaac over that like 20-minute hump, I think he would be usable just because he does a little bit of everything. 3,500, I don't hate that as like a sprinkle it in type of value play just to get off of some other chalky guys. But yeah, no real interest either side here for me.
Bulls, Pacers, 229 is the total. The Pacers are 4-point favorites here versus Chicago. Pacers pretty healthy. Mathurin obviously out for the season. No Dougie buckets. James Johnson's ill. He's questionable. Doesn't matter. As far as the Bulls, nothing new here for Keith's Bulls. Torrey Craig is available. Julian Phillips is questionable with his foot, but that doesn't really matter either. I'll throw this to you, Keith, since this is your team, Chicago. Bulls at Indiana. We like to play take on Indiana. You mentioned Indiana, like they're similar to Orlando, where they play a lot of guys and a lot of guys 26 to 28, maybe 30 minutes or so. And it's just kind of annoying. You're just fighting for those extra few minutes. And sometimes, many times, you just don't get them. Now the price kind of sort of factors that in as well. But Chicago, Pacers, what is your read here, Keith?
Yeah, good matchup here for the Bulls. I still don't play any of the stars to get, like, I never want to game stack the Bulls. They just don't seem to put up enough production for that. So getting the right one between Vooch, DeRozan, and Kobe White, I always have those guys in a 0-1 group. I think they're all playable because of the matchup. I don't particularly love the prices on any of them. I think if I had to pick a favorite, I would lean Vooch in this spot. But again, it's not like I want to be 40% Vooch or anything. I'm not in love with the spot. I do think it's a good spot. I just think he's priced about appropriately. Dosunmu is playable with his role, playing a ton of minutes. And Caruso, not a comfortable click, but if you happen to need something in the mid-range, he is playable as well. But Vooch would be my favorite player.
Should have mentioned front end of a back-to-back for Chicago, back end of a back-to-back for the Pacers. Bobby, jump in here. What do you got?
Yeah, so we're showing Vooch for 11%. I could easily get double the field on Vooch to like 22%. He's crushed the Pacers in the past. So he's definitely my favorite play on the Bulls side. You can always play Kobe White, DeRozan. I think Dosunmu and Caruso, they're also fine. I think I'd probably just play one, probably split the two of those guys. Dosunmu is the one I'd prioritize. Don't love Caruso in the spot. Siakam has small forward, power forward eligibility on the Pacers. I think he's probably my favorite play on the Pacers. Also think Miles Turner's priced fairly. I am one of the people who has been chasing Tyrese Halliburton at low ownership for the last month and a half. I probably
what's happened the last month? Yeah, it's like we have not seen that ceiling game in a while.
I probably won't play him tonight, and tonight is the night that he will probably go ham. So, yeah,
he hit some threes in Chicago.
He's fallen off a cliff. So, yeah, I played him
Chicago
on Sunday.
Still like bottom three. They still like bottom three as far as giving up threes. I have not looked at that in the last.
I think they've been pretty bad all season. So,
yeah,
it wouldn't be. He's a nice contrarian play.
Depending on 3-point variance goes, like the Pacers can win this game by like 25 plus or so if they're going in. I suppose that's pretty much any Pacer game. Speaking of the Pacers and speaking of Halliburton in chat, Herb Dog is saying, "Do we see any betting props for Halliburton?" I don't see any. Well, I see him on Scores and Odds. If you go to Scores and Odds, and I'll let you know like where to shop, where you get the best numbers at. I pulled up just points for Halliburton. Best number is over 18.5. Most places have it 19.5. Now, you do have to lay a little bit more juice, minus 125. That's at Caesars. But most places have it at 19.5. And assists are probably, around 10.5, 11? I'm guessing so. Yeah, it's the assist line is 10.5 most places. Prize Picks is 10.5 as far as the over-under. 11.5 minus 142. That seems a terrible bet on Caesars. Don't bet that on Caesars. But, yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're at Scores and Odds, you don't necessarily have to see us on Scores and Odds, but today's squad ride pick, I did see it earlier. It's the college basketball game, which I know nothing about, but producer Steve can give it away to the people and throw it up on the screen. Feel free to follow the squad. If you're not aware, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Every single day, somebody that does RG content nominates one of the picks from Scores and Odds. Today's pick is highlighted. Cincinnati, the Bearcats, are taking on, I think Kansas is number one. I've been told that they have several injuries, which is why Cincinnati's a 3.5-point favorite here. I did bet this blind because why not? Sure, let's play along with the squad every single day. Check that out, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Squad ride room. Most of the Discord channels are free. That one is free as well. All right, we got an update, by the way, as far as our projections. Garrett Temple is projected to play a minute. That's when you know things are bad. Hold on. Let's see. I want to see what we get as far as Toronto. How much chalk are we getting when it comes to Toronto? What do we land on projection wise with the Raptors? I saw somebody in chat. I'll ask this to Keith. Luka or Quickly for FanDuel cash? I don't know if you can play both. Can you play both? Probably not. Is this something you got a thought on? Obviously, Luka's amazing. What we do live in the world of a salary cap. So
yeah,
that.
And Luka, just without the bonuses on FanDuel, he doesn't have as big of a ceiling as he does on DraftKings. The salary cap is also tends to be tighter on FanDuel, so I think I'd probably go Quickly in that situation.
Very first optimal I got on DK has 5 Raptors, which is hilarious. I will not be playing 5. Second one is 4. Next one is 5. And then 4, just kind of bouncing back and forth. And you can imagine 5. It's 5 Raptors. It's Luka. It's Fontecchio, and then there's a bull. There you go. What's the cap here, Keith? Sometimes general rules like no more than 3. If it's extenuating circumstances, maybe 4. Is this extenuating circumstances? Can we play 4 Raptors today in the lineup?
I almost never do it, and I don't think I will do it with the Raptors. I think I'll limit it to 3. They have a ton of upside. I'm completely comfortable with 3, but I think that'll be the cap for me today.
Yeah, cash is different. To be clear, you're talking tournaments. Like in cash, you would play 4, possibly 5, depending on. You got to take on that, Bobby. I know the news just kind of trickled on through, and you're probably still digesting it. But yeah, the most Raptors you think you'll have on a team is what?
I usually just max 3. Definitely at least 1 on every team for me. I will say we didn't hit on there was another play in the Indy game, Aaron Nesmith, 35 and 37 minutes in the last game. He's right above Bruce Brown's price tag. I think he makes for an interesting pivot if you're trying to get away from Brown.
Jimmy Butler, by the way, officially in. I know he had that illness, but he was expected to play anyway. Just want to pull up the individual projections that we have for Toronto. We have a minute and seeing how we're doing this. 36 for Grady Dick, 36 for Quickly, 34 for Brown. Kelly O, just 29 minutes for Kelly O, just 29 for Agbaji, 20 for McDaniels, 19 Porter, 19 Nwora, 15 Freeman at Liberty. Ramsey gets a couple, and Garrett Temple gets 1 lonely minute. Some hedge minutes there. You know about that hedge life, Keith.
Oh, yeah.
On the projection team. Just you never know. But I wouldn't. When did Garrett Temple last play basketball? Has he played recently that I'm not aware of? I feel like we haven't seen him in a good bit. 210. He played a few minutes there. He played 3 minutes on 210, so he's good to go. All right. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how the field handles the Raptors. And that's I think our guess as far as the starting lineup. It seems the most likely. Quickly, Dick, Brown, Agbaji, and Kelly O. All right. Anything else as far as Chicago, Indiana, Bobby, or shall we move on?
No, we can move on, Dino.
Denver's taking on my Miami Heat. Let's see. The line is 217.5. That's not a very high total. Denver's just a 3.5 point favorite here. They are fully healthy. Miami, not as much. Butler, good to go. Hero still out with his foot. Love, he has that heel, so he's not playing basketball tonight. You kind of talked about this, Bobby, and we'll talk about Luka soon enough, obviously. But, you talk about the prospect of playing Jokic instead. Why would you want to play the guy that's got a triple-double in every single game forever and ever? But, ownership, right? It's just kind of like just a game theory play, basically. The matchup here against Miami, obviously not spectacular either, but we know Joker essentially matchup proof. Your take when it comes to Denver and Miami. Go for it, Bobby.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think Jokic is a very good pivot, as always, off of Luka. Obviously, Luka's been smashing. He's a triple-double every night. But if you want to be different in construction, dropping down the 800 from Luka to Jokic, I think makes a good bit of sense. Game is one of the lower totals. It's not something that I'm going to be targeting too much, but I like Jokic, and I think Murray's in a good price range as well from a GPP perspective. Just want to pull up real quick. He's pivoting from Murray to Quickly was something that I was considering prior to losing pretty much everyone on Toronto. But I still think Murray's a good play. I have no issue if people played Murray or showed up with Murray in their lineups tonight. So those would be my 2 favorite plays from this game. On the Miami side, they all kind of, I guess, eat into each other. There's no one really standing out for me in terms of Miami. Maybe you guys have other takes on Miami, but currently right now, my favorites would be Butler and Rozier, but I'm not getting a ton of them. Probably just sprinkles across my lineups.
I don't think there's any priorities on Miami, but like you said, you can play some Butler, you can play some Bam, you can play some Rozier, and they're all going to be low owned. We got Butler at 12%. I think this will change, though. I'm not sure if this is including the Toronto stuff. Bam at 3, Rozier at 2. That's basically the only guys. I mean, Caleb Martin is, playing about 30 minutes will close, but I'm pretty sure you can survive the slate not playing Caleb Martin, just be perfectly fine. This is not a great Robinson spot. Keith, Miami, Denver, any priorities for you? What's your tournament takes here?
I attempted the Jokic fade in his last spot where he had a great matchup against Toronto. Did not work out well. So I definitely want to be overweight the field on Jokic. Just got to chase that ceiling. I think he's a fantastic pivot away from Luka. Murray, I don't love the matchup for him. It's not like he's unowned either. He's catching 12% right now is what we have him projected for. So I don't think I try to get over the field on Murray. I don't have any interest in anybody else on Denver, and I have almost zero interest on Miami as well. Bam's production has fallen off recently. I think Jimmy is the play, but again, that 8K range is really strong, and I don't think I'm getting to Jimmy all that much either.
First half of the ESPN doubleheader, the back half we don't have to worry about. That's Lakers, Sacramento. And actually a really important game as far as playoff positioning out there in the Western Conference. Yeah, I don't play a lot of lineups, but I love the ownership though. I think it's going to be so low owned, it's completely ignored. That's the best argument for it. An even more important question, Keith, is that I'm up right now in my Dynasty League. I only keep 10 guys. So I don't really think about long-term stuff. Are we drafting Yoshida, Kelnick, Quan, Tyler O'Neill, Mullins, McCormick? Which outfield are we on?
Kelnick.
You're all kind of...
Yeah. I mean, Kelnick's potential in that offense is like insane. That ballpark upgrade as well. Like, I think Kelnick could have a massive year.
He's gonna
that's like the easiest question of all time.
I don't think it is. I think he's got the biggest variance, but like there's guys that are safe. Quan's like safer, but like his upside.
Kelnick has the best ceiling though by far.
Yes, but he's also the most likely.
Like, you're playing for that mid projection, Dean. So go Quan if you want. I like the ceiling plays.
I didn't want to do this, but I'm the defending champion in this league. I'm not the kind of guy to say that. I wouldn't bring that up. I
can't believe this victory lap of a dynasty.
It came up organically. I would not, flags fly forever. And we took it down last year. We're bringing back some good. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad I wonder if the people have any thoughts there because I'm getting chimed in. Dean, you're on the clock. It's a 2-hour thing, but people want it. Let's go. Let's knock out these picks. All right. Anything else as far as Denver, Miami? I believe we are moving on to Cleveland and New Orleans. This is an 8:00 game as well. No, this is the first of 2 8:00 games. Then there's an 8:30 game. Cleveland takes on New Orleans. Has Donovan Mitchell let us know yet? I don't think he has, right? I don't think this does not seem like a spot where he would come back. Tough spot on the road in New Orleans. He's been out for several games. I believe I saw he was at practice for what it's worth. I kind of don't think he plays, but we'll see. Stay tuned. Mitchell is questionable with that knee. We know Wade is out, Mobley's out, Strus is out. Garland should be good to go as far as his ankle. And New Orleans is fully healthy, except Dyson Daniels. Doesn't matter a ton. Yeah, Keith. So we're kind of in a little bit of if-then zone when it comes to Mitchell. If Mitchell comes back, it's like nobody on Cleveland, right? Is that the first thought? Like nobody.
That absolutely my first thought. Everybody is way overpriced if Mitchell is playing. Garland and Allen, you can't touch him at those prices with Allen. I guess you could make an argument for since Mobley's still out. He can find a 50-point ceiling, but Garland at that price, not interested. If Mitchell is it's still a really tough matchup against New Orleans. So I'm not even all that interested, even if Mitchell is out. Certainly you could play Garland and Allen. They will have a much higher ceiling without Mitchell. But again, the matchup is not great. So it's almost no interest either way for me. It is literally zero interest if Mitchell is in there.
Bobby?
Yeah. If Mitchell's out, these guys are all pretty much priced up for him being out for however long he's been out for. So outside of Allen, like you said, with Mobley being out, he would be the only one I'd be really interested in. On the New Orleans side, you can always play Williamson or Ingram, but not much for this game. Otherwise, for me, we can move on. It's one of those catch me ups.
We still have, 10 minutes, but about 25 minutes until crunch time comes in. So time is not an issue. We have just 2 more games left to go. We also have to spin the wheel. If you guys are joining us late, you're not aware. Get your name on the wheel so you can get yourself 1 week free of RotoGrinders Premium. How do you go about doing that? Well, you go in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go into the live stream chat channel and just hit the avatar producer Steve has posted. He will take your name and throw it up on the wheel. And, let's not push it to 6 o'clock. We want to spin it at 6 o'clock. Let's not make Steve scramble for names at 5:59. Let's try to make his job a little bit easier, and let's knock it out now while we can. You see the the lineup HQ stuff we're showing off on the screen, and you want to use that at your own leisure, and you don't want to get it for free for whatever reason, or you try. Not everybody can get a week free. Well, you can get yourself a 3-day pass. A 3-day pass gets you access to all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA. Everything with the exception of NASCAR, $19.99 for that. If you want to commit to a month, you can commit to a month. We actually have promos for Scores and Odds. Kind of referenced that before. $10 off your first month at Scores and Odds. Also $10 off your first month when it comes to Combo Premium. Both those links are in the description. They'll be dropped in chat as well. Shall we let's knock out one more game? Charlotte and Memphis. This is 202. That is the total. That's it.
Real quick, while you're doing that, I just want to make a point about Cleveland. Since Mobley's been out the last 4 games, I was looking this up while you're doing the reads there. They're 24th in defensive rating. So we think of Cleveland as like an excellent defensive team, but they have struggled a little bit without Mobley. Of course, Mitchell was out as well during that time, and he has potential to come back. But just wanted to point, I think this is a great Zion spot. I definitely want to be over the field on Zion.
Yeah, did we talk much about New Orleans? I like Zion a good bit too. I kind of like New Orleans to win by more than 6 if you want a sides in total take. I don't know if anybody's agrees with me on that, but yeah, I just Cleveland's kind of beat up. They're on the road. Mitchell, I don't think he's going to play. I think you lay the 6. And I think New Orleans is better than like people think because they've kind of been in and out all season long. They're kind of a sneaky underrated team. All right.
They really started clicking when they started running Zion at point a lot more. They moved CJ off the ball, and like Zion's been running point for them. So that like his assist numbers are way up. That's why I like Zion so much.
CJ's kind of unplayable until his price changes, right? Like that's a good point to kind of mention. He's just not handling the ball. He's not getting an assist and point Zion. I know on this show I may have recommended betting some overs on point Zion. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah. All right. Sorry, I got thrown off. I didn't realize I'm distracted by my draft. My apologies. We shall move on. Okay. You know what? Let's just get one more game before you spin the wheel. We'll give the people a few more minutes. Charlotte and Memphis, 202.5 is the total. Charlotte is a 2-point dog here on the road. I mean, I just want to throw this analysis on anybody else but me. I'm my worst enemy to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. Because, man, it's such a disaster. We do have Trey Mann questionable for Charlotte, so possibly he comes back and in for the Hornets. McGowan's is out. The ball thing is hilarious. Like, why did they rule this guy out 2 months ago? He's going to be out for 2 months, or he's going to be out for the season. They couldn't do that? No. Memphis, Alden was questionable. Stevens is questionable. Pippen Jr. questionable. Triple J's doubtful. He's out. Vince Williams is doubtful. He's going to be out. No Yuta Watanabe. And Bain got elevated to doubtful. I can't imagine he plays tonight, but just kind of keep an eye on that going forward. All right. Who wants it? Somebody raise their hand. Who wants
Keith, you can take it, Keith. You can take it.
All right. I'll take the pain. Charlotte side, it's tough with Trey Mann coming back because Micic has been playing well in his absence, but he's got the price bump now. So the pricing is a little bit inflated here. If Trey Mann does return, if Mann is out, I think you can play Micic at 6'2". I think there's still a little bit of meat left there at that price tag. Brandon Miller has been shooting a bunch here recently. The only other guy I really have interest in. Miles Bridges has found a ceiling occasionally, a little bit less frequently since Micic and Mann have been in play. I'd probably take more shots on him if Mann is out, but I don't know. Not a great spot overall. Memphis is actually decent on defense, even though they're depleted. They haven't been horrible on defense, so not a great matchup. If Mann is in there, I think everybody's a little bit overpriced. Much more interest if Mann misses. Micic would be the guy. Brandon Miller and Bridges, I would definitely grab a sprinkle of. The Memphis side, you have to see a starting lineup. That's really the only way you can make proper decisions. It would not surprise me if Jordan Goodwin is inactive for this game. I think if Scottie Pippen Jr. is able to play, that's actually a likely scenario that Goodwin could be inactive. So you just have to keep an eye on this news all the way up until tip-off, because the Grizzlies have done the late thing to us several times this year as well. I know personally I've been scrambling to try to figure out if Trey Jamison is active or Jordan Goodwin is active, like leading right into their tip-off. So a horrible situation. You have to pay attention to it all the way up until tip-off, but it's a great matchup against Charlotte. They have been better on defense since they made their trades for what that's worth, but I still don't buy that they're like a top defense. So I'm interested. Trey Jamison would be my favorite play on Memphis here, assuming that he starts and is active. Like you have to see the lineup before you can know who's a good play. I would say if Alderman gets ruled out, Trey Jamison would be very secure in his minutes, I think.
Right now we're looking at 11 bodies, but like some of those are going to go away, I think, right? I think there's some questionables kind of mixed in, and we'll see. Maybe they land on 8 or 9 or so. Like you'd think like an organization wasn't like caught up with like tanking and all that kind of stuff, they would reward Jameson for having a career night last night and give him the start again. And it's a nice matchup for him as well. We'll see. But the idea that, well, he might not even play. Why can't everybody be the Magic? The Magic already released our starting lineup. Like, they are the best when it comes to giving us all sorts of news. It's too bad they're a boring team for DFS, but like
the Cincinnati Reds are that team in baseball. They always release their lineup like 4 hours in advance.
But they're a fun team, though. The Reds are a lot of fun.
They are.
They just have too many hitters. Unfortunately, they can't bat 11 guys. But yeah, and of course, a spectacular ballpark to play in as well. Bobby, do you want to add anything? Are you taking notes there? It's a lot of it's just sort of like wait and see.
Yeah, Jameson, I got to him last night. I wish I had gotten more, and also wanted Goodwin. I think if Pippen Jr. does play and Goodwin's active, Pippen would knock down Goodwin. So I wouldn't like Goodwin as much. Would probably try to get some Scottie Pippen in there. Jameson's my favorite play. Like you guys broke down, if Aldama sits, he becomes like pretty much the strongest play from this game by far. Yeah, and then Trey Mann, Mitchich situation. I don't like playing Mitchich, so I don't know. Definitely could play more Trey Mann, but not too much on the Charlotte side for me.
Hey Keith, what odds would I have to give you? Like even money, 2-1, 3-1. I say you got to predict the starting lineup for Memphis. At what point are you in? Do you want to make a bet? What do you need?
You'd have to be much higher than anything you said there. 10-1, maybe.
You would take 3-1
to predict the Memphis starting lineup? No.
It could really be a number of options. Probably Jameson. Probably. Maybe Pippen.
The point guard stuff is impossible with Pippen being thrown back into the mix. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me for them to go back to Kennard at point tonight before Pippen was potentially available. Now with 3 of them potentially there to do it, like it's impossible.
Yeah. And they're not going to tell us until like 7:30, right? When the other games. Isn't that typically when they drop it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a team that waits too, so it'll probably be like 7:40.
They're such a terrible organization.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the wheel. We got to bring in producer Steve. Steve's been pulling those names from the Discord channel, live stream chat channel. No more bets, no more name submissions because we got to spin that wheel. We got to give away some premium. Do we have enough likes? I've not counted the likes.
No more bets.
Do we have enough likes to give away 2 individual weeks, Steve? It's your call.
No, we only got 55 likes and we got 117 votes. So that's
People
not
really passionate about cereal, not very passionate about liking things, but they love their Cinnamon Toast Crunch or CTC if you're Tim.
Right.
I wonder if Tim liked the show today. I wonder if he liked it.
Ooh.
He voted for cereal, but I don't know if he was too busy to hit the like button.
It's a good call, Bobby. All right, guys, I'm going to shuffle up the names right here, hitting it like 10 times. And here is the spin.
Oh, this takes Bobby back to his Ultra days in Miami. Bobby's loving this. This is right in his wheelhouse. How many times has Bobby gone to the Ultra Fest?
I haven't been. I've been to other ones though.
You'd love to.
All right, congratulations, man. I'll shoot you a message in the Discord.
Tim is letting us know he's still really busy. So, but he was not too busy where he can type to us, let us know he's really busy. Could have very easily hit the like button in that process, but
we're out on Tim. I'm fading Tim for a long time. Fade Tim.
He's somewhere with Frosted Flakes. You didn't click on Frosted Flakes. You're not clicking on
any takes from Tim. Just go the other way.
What's worse, a take from Tim or me talking Dynasty baseball?
Both are pretty terrible, if you want my honest opinion.
Keith, are you involved in any Dynasty stuff? You have to have like one like with the nerdy Dynasty league you're in, or maybe not.
I don't. Potential. I've actually talked to Luke about maybe getting in one with him, but I don't currently have any.
All right. You don't want this.
Where do you have the time to play Dynasty baseball? Like, where do you?
I don't have any kids. What do you mean? Where do I have the time? I don't have kids, Bobby.
Even if you don't have kids, it's Dynasty MLB. Like, it's a grind. You grind DFS.
Yeah. There's an overlap. There's an overlay. I don't have to like learn calculus all of a sudden. Like I basically have the information as is and just apply it different ways. Yeah.
It seems like a lot to me. You're
you're just jealous. You want to have the time to play, and you can't play.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't play either way. I would never waste my time. You can't get that time back, Dean.
Butto in chat is saying, "Am I bragging about? I'm very.
He is
not bragging.
He is bragging.
That's not what.
You
That's
told
not
him about the
Victory lapped
beginning.
his win last year.
Yeah.
I don't know about
He is
you, but I have a Dynasty baseball league. What about you? I don't see you in race.
It's on his Tinder profile. I won my Dynasty baseball league last year.
You'd be surprised the kind of a reaction you get for that. All right, so the last game, the hammer game, if you will, the only game at 8:30, Warriors, Mavs, 233 is the total. Mavs are 7-point favorites. We have no Steph. Steph's the only player out for Golden State. Of course, he matters, but prices have kind of sort of somewhat mostly adjusted to that situation. And Dallas is fully healthy. Luka playing 40 minutes a night and dropping triple dubs every single game. Like, it'd be a disappointment if he didn't at this point. I didn't look and see what his odds were to get a triple double tonight, but probably like -110 or something. Just kind of throwing it out there. Is this something anybody's looked at? But,
I did look. I think it was +120, but yeah, it's very close to even money.
Yeah, it's pretty silly, and I would lean like yes, like why not?
Yeah,
I don't know. He's going to keep doing it. They're going to throw a Draymond on him, I suppose, maybe like at least to some degree, try to figure out how to stop him. But good luck trying to stop Luka. Keith, jump in here. How much are we prioritizing Luka? He's very clearly the highest, raw points player in the slate. Every time he plays at this point now, we're just giving him. Well, FanDuel, he's got like a 10-point lead over Joker, 65-55. On DK with all those bonuses you talked about, 69.63. I add the decimals. That's a median projection, which is just insanity. He kind of has to hit it, right? Because he's 12.8K. But he's 12 points ahead of Joker. You get those, 3-point bonus, double bonus, triple double bonus, all those bonuses only docked to half a point for turnovers. Yeah, so how much are we prioritizing Luka and then talk about the Mavs outside of that? It's just not much else. I guess there's Kyrie, sure, but that's basically the start. The conversation starts and ends these days. Luka and his ridiculous usage.
Yeah, I think Luka has to be a priority for you. It's not just the usage, but the assists and the rebounds as well. And it's the minutes floor. He played 33 minutes in a game they absolutely shellacked the Bulls in the last game. And he was chasing that 30-point triple-double streak for a while there. So I would say that 33 is his absolute minutes floor at this point. Like, he's never going to play less than that unless there's an injury or something. But he also has upside to play like 42 minutes. So, it's just insane. The production, the minutes, it is impossible to make an argument against this guy. Like, he just continually puts up 70 points. He's reaching 80 points at times. Like, it's been ridiculous. So, doesn't matter the matchup for me at this point. I think you just got to keep clicking on Luka. Ownership is never great on a guy that's almost 13K. You don't like to see that guy as chalk and try to get over the field on him, but I think that's what I'm doing tonight. I don't have any interest in Kyrie. He's just not quite doing enough here. Gafford isn't seeing enough minutes. Like, they seem to have him capped in like that 23, 24 minute range. If I knew he was going to get 26, I think he's playable. But until I see some more minutes out of him, I don't think so. PJ Washington, I think he plays the minutes, just not enough production with everything Luka's doing. So it's Luka only for me on the Mavs.
Hypothetically, if I said Luka gets you 65 points, no more, no less, that's like an X button, right? You X him out?
Correct.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I think so, right?
That's not enough.
That's so weird. But we think he's going to get more than that. Like, he's projected for basically a median projection for 70 on DK. Bobby, jump in here to Luka, to not Luka.
I'm definitely playing Luka. I just feel like I'm falling into the same construction of pretty much everyone else with Luka and then Toronto and Detroit. It seems like he's really going after that MVP. Keith talked about chasing the minutes. Like, the minutes floor is ridiculous. If he did get 65, I'd probably want to X him, like Dean said. For me, I'm not locking Luka. I'm definitely going to play Yoke, try to get over on Yoke. I'm even going to try to get in some Halliburton because I just feel like it's going to happen one of these nights. And at that point, you really can't pay all the way up for Luka. But Luka's the best play on the slate. Just a matter of locking him, not locking him. I don't think I'm locking him. And yeah, on the other side, with Steph out, I like, for me, I think my favorite play would be Podziemski. Jackson Davis also has a nice tag. I would try to get to him as a run back. Kuminga and Wiggins are good plays, but one of them is probably going to see a lot of Luka, so I probably group them away from each other. Probably prefer Kuminga over Wiggins for what it's worth. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this game.
Hammer in chat pointing out Gafford is 28 for his last 28. I assume those are all like layups and dunks. Just kind of interesting. He has not missed in a while, his last so many games. Let's see. By TJ in chat noting he is on his Tinder profile, he put iPad Tetris world record holder.
Isn't TJ married?
Well, yeah, it's not an active. I don't think it's an active, or maybe they have an open thing going on. Whatever.
Maybe they have an open thing. Yeah, you never know. These days, it's fluid.
Whatever. Yeah, if everybody's happy, have a good time. But I think he's talking retroactively. But I think the loophole here is he's not the Tetris world record holder. He's the iPad Tetris world record. That feels like you're getting rid of a lot of the competition. I feel like most people, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like that's wiping out a lot of people. Everybody plays on iPad.
Someone said so. Saskatoon rules in chat. That was a good one.
He's the.
I will say I have seen couples. Well, I definitely have seen couples Tinders when I was on Tinder in my day. I guess it is like a thing. I guess, right? I don't know.
It'd be like a package deal.
Yeah, like a package.
But you got to get like in a different category, right? Don't you? You should probably split yourself off. Is there like a different category for that, or that's amongst everybody else?
I have no idea. Yeah.
And what did you swipe?
I didn't swipe because I'm not into that. I like chicks.
Whatever, man. I wanted some completion on that story. I didn't want to just kind of sit there and let it linger.
Yeah.
Warriors.
What'd you say?
I was asking Keith about the Warriors.
Warriors. I love the Jackson Davis call. Took him out of my lineups a little bit when he wasn't starting in the last game. Big mistake. Dude absolutely went off. So I still like his price tag. I think there is a little bit of upwards mobility on the minutes too. Have him for 23. We saw, I think it was 26 in the last one. 26 minutes last game. So I do think if he's playing well, they'll run him out there a little bit more than what we have projected. So I like that. Chris Paul is fine. I don't necessarily love the price. It is a good matchup against Dallas, so they've really struggled defensively recently. I like Pods as well. Coming off the bench, should have a little usage. I'm not in love with anything here, but I do like the matchup. So I want some exposure. It's going to be sprinkles of all these guys, but I think Jackson Davis is my favorite, and then I'll sprinkle in Paul, Kuminga, and Pods.
I didn't put any rules or anything as far as X number of players. I want this many Raptors, this many Pistons. The first two optimals that came up for me on DK is a Toronto Detroit game stack, 3-3, and Luka. Like it's just right there. Everybody's doing that, right? It's like super, super obvious.
That's going to be a real popular construction tonight.
Yeah, but it sounds like a lot of fun. But if everybody's going to be doing that, I don't know. There's two that are hitting right away, which is kind of funny. But that's actually. Wait, was my math bad? That was 4 and 3 and 1. Okay, there's 8 in total. Yeah, I was like, why 3 and 3 doesn't make any sense with one left over. Yeah, that's one too many. I think that's one too many at least. I might go 3-3-1-1 or something like that. Maybe get a Warrior in there if you can kind of work it in. But that Toronto Detroit game, I've never been more excited for terrible basketball. It's going to be spectacular. We have crunch time coming in about 5 minutes or so. We have plenty of time to. If there's any questions in chat, by all means, fire off some questions regarding the slate and any sort of strategy questions. This guy or that guy. Alan wants to know, Keith, can you play Jackson Davis and Gafford in the same lineup on DK?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. I get they're competing for the same rebounds, but they're both cheap enough. I'm fine with that.
K-Town's finest, Goodwin or Pippen. Well, whichever one plays, maybe. I don't know. Does anybody have a good answer now? It's just like wait for that starting lineup, and I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. There's really no way of giving a good answer now, basically.
Correct. I think the answer is whichever one starts.
Luka and Memphis Charlotte. I don't love the Memphis Charlotte game. Bobby, should I be paying attention more to Memphis Charlotte? Because there are pieces here, and maybe if Memphis gets whittled down to like 8, then all of a sudden you gotta like pay attention. But as things stand right now, I don't love this game. It's fine.
I do think Conchar and Kennard are interesting. Just guys that are pretty much in that range of a lot of the chalk. 4.8 for Conchar. Where's Kennard? 5.2. So
yeah,
2 guys we didn't talk about, but I don't know. Like last night, you needed some of these Memphis pieces, so maybe it's not the worst idea to try to get over on a couple of these guys.
Friend of the show, Kirkwood, giving a shout out to the fellow Saskatoonians, Roddy Piper, Leslie Nielsen. Love Leslie Nielsen. Shout out to the Naked Gun, and of course TJ Zworich. True North won himself some RG socks. He says if he wears RG socks in his Tinder profile and he gets a date, do I win a month of RG premium?
You don't even
that date.
You don't even put your own pic. You don't put the pic. You just put a picture of your feet with RG socks.
Some people are into that, you know.
Some people are into that.
Swipe right.
Yeah.
Derek's got a 2v2. I'll give this to you, Bobby. Did we mention Larry Nance revenge game in passing? Larry Nance and Pascal Siakam, or Porter and Kuminga? Who do you prefer amongst those two?
I Nance Siakam.
Julian Phillips is available. We don't care, but thank you for they wrote that in chat. Kawhi is questionable Thursday. He left the building. He's like, my back hurts. I'm going home. I don't know if you guys saw that notes. I'm out of here. He's like, I'm leaving. You got to beat the traffic. Respect. All right. We should have a couple more questions before. Okay, here we go. For Keith, this is a 3v3. All right, Brian, you're killing us. You doubled up on Fontecchio. It's a 3v3. Wait, hold on a second. He says Fontecchio, beef stew, Brown, or Fontecchio, beef stew, and Gafford. So
Brown or Gafford.
What are we doing here, Brian? So Brown or beef stew is the question.
Brown or Gafford, right?
No, I think he doubled. Oh wait, no,
No, he's asking Brown or beef stew, right?
No, he doubled down on beef stew. It's Brown. Yes, Brown or Gafford. The answer is Brown. I think it's Brown.
Yeah, it's Brown.
Okay,
agreed.
All right. Crunch time, knocking on the door. We got Roth coming in. I believe it's Taylor as well, and Chief. Chief's coming aboard as well. Steve in chat's talking about playing Joker instead of Luka. Luka currently 30%. Yeah, that's what Bobby was talking about before. It could hurt. Fading Luka is not. It's not a lot of fun. It's not for the faint of heart, but you can certainly do it if you want to do it. I should mention this one more time. I'll go ahead and drop this. I know Bobby's going to have his conspiracies as to why I'm doing this, but I'm dropping in the head-to-head challenge once again for the people.
We know what you're up to, Dean. We know what you're up to. We're on to you. We all know.
What am I up to? What have you concluded? But answer my tweet. Yeah, you can get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Just tell me why. Now, respond to the tweet. Don't respond in the chat. That doesn't make any sense. I won't even see that. That's going to go away. Just tell me why I should pick you to play me tomorrow night. You beat me tomorrow night head-to-head on DK and NBA. You get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. No strings attached. None. We do it. It's like in sync. All right. We got Crunch Time coming in. I believe they're coming in. I didn't get the cue, though. Producer Steve, if I just say 3, 2, 1, will they all of a sudden appear? I don't know. Let's try it. 3, 2, 1. There it is.
Wow, a lot of people. Oh, that's a better window.
It was just differently. Bobby's not on a lot of sleep. He's a new dad again, so he's playing. I don't want to say he's playing hurt, but playing tired, Bobby. But you made it. You made it, Bobby. Congratulations.
Tired. Yeah.
What time is it going to be?
Where'd everyone go?
Oh no,
Am I muted?
No.
I said
Dean was
tired is an
awkwardly
understatement.
all right. Rob, what's going on, dude?
Dean, we know what you're up to.
What am I up to? What
We
are the
know what you're
conspiracies
doing.
things?
You're always up to
Dean.
something.
Bobby
I'm
and
up
I
to
know what
nothing.
you're up to. Get out of here, Dean. We know what you're
Well,
doing.
it's very easy just to say that and like just let it sit there.
Yeah,
There's really
I know it's
there's
really
no-
fun. I have no idea. It's just fun to say. Yeah.
There's no shenanigans on my part. It's just
Uh-huh.
I was happy to lose
Yeah.
last week, and I'm happy to lose again. And you're going to play against a tournament team too, by the way. You're not going to play against a cash team because I'm almost definitely not playing cash. So that makes it even easier to beat me, really, honestly.
Mhm.
So by all means, you get yourself a week free. Just let me know in that tweet. Tell me why I should pick you.
Dean's
Rob
tournament
Hyla.
team is like a playoff a cash team. Just throwing it out there.
Mhm.
It's what now?
It's like one playoff of a cash game team.
I mean, you know, it's I mean, look, I don't play in these the 30,000 entry lotto necessarily. I play in the single entry stuff. So yeah, it's not a cash game per se, but the lineups I
It's a
build are
hybrid.
not going
It's
to
a
be crazy
hybrid.
goofy. There you go. That's another way of putting it. But like, you know, I'm not besmirching. If you want to play in the lotto with 30,000 people, 30,000 of your friends, whatever, or 30,000 divided by 150, by all means, have at it. Enjoy yourself. But that's not necessarily for me. Roth, things good in your world?
Yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, life is good, man.
We did not get the old Feel It in the Plums play. By the way, in the chat, the poll did not check back as far as the poll. Favorite cereals? You can only list so many, Roth. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or CTC, as Tim likes to call it. I guess the kids, the hipsters. Frosted Flakes, or Captain Crunch.
These
Or
are all
other.
terrible. Yeah,
They're
other.
terrible. Those are
They're
awful.
so-
choices.
all of these like sugary. What are you, 3 years old? You want these
Well,
sugary
producer
ass
Steve is
cereal?
not 3, but he's younger than us. And he's the one that put those suggestions in the poll.
Oh God, no. The only good cereal is like adult cereal, and even then, it kind of sucks. I eat eggs every single day for breakfast. Cereal is trash. That's my hot take.
Scrambled.
Wow.
Yeah, scrambled eggs every single day. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Scrambled's the shock.
Yeah.
Did I hear Steve? Steve is not liking his cereals getting bashed.
The only cereal in there I like is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I think legitimately, if you look online, it's the most popular cereal there is. That's why I have to add. I
That's
don't
why
really
Americans
like
are
Frosted
overweight.
Flakes or anything
Yeah.
like that either.
You mean Cinnamon Toast Crunch is not healthy for you? Is that what you're suggesting?
Oh, it's not. But I'm with
Oh, Honey-
Roth. I'll
Honey Nut
take
Cheerios
eggs
are
over
pretty
cereal any day.
Yeah. Honey Nut
Yeah.
Cheerios are kind of good for what it's worth. I forgot about those.
Honey
Yeah,
bunches
Honey
of
Nut
oats.
Cheerios are
You were
good.
close.
Yeah.
All right. We got to get the Feel It in the
Where'd I
Plums
go?
play. Got to step aside. I don't know. Somebody just no. Steve.
Did I get kicked out
aside.
for saying that the cereal sucks? What happened?
I think you just froze, Kevin. We can still hear you, but
Can you
your
see me
picture
now?
froze for some reason. You're here. You're just frozen. You're in
just-
deep
you can
thought
still
thinking about
speak.
cereal.
We can
It
hear
doesn't
you.
help, Dean. Now you have to hang out longer, Dean. We got to figure this shit out. I gotta leave and get back in. Talk more about cereal. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
The thing about Reese's Puffs is nobody ever talks about this. So get the Feel It in the Plums play. Well, let's get in the old Feel It in the Plums. We got Bobby. You're going first, and then
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go off the board here. I'm gonna go Halliburton. He's gonna get it done tonight. Finally.
You've martingaled that so much. Like if that was like a roulette wheel, you've hit the wrong number so many times. But I've been doing it as well. But maybe tonight he's due.
Good
See
stall.
it, Keith. See Halliburton and race it, Keith. What do you got?
I'm going to go Trace Jackson Davis continues his upward trend here. Has another big game.
I'm going to drop mine in the chat. We got Roth back. We have Will. We have Taylor as well. And that's it. That's it for our portion. We're going to yield to the crunch time, taking you all the way home. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff, as always, Dean. We know what you're up to, but good stuff either way. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is crunch time. You know the drill. We're going to take you up to lock. We're going to take you through lock. We're going to give you plays on FanDuel. We're going to give you plays on DK. And, of course, we're going to answer your questions. And, as always, to the sharpest minds in the biz, helping to walk through the slate. We got Taylor for his cash perspective. What up, Taylor?
Not much. Kind of a chill-ish slate. Not too much outstanding news. Just some standard Memphis stuff and Donovan Mitchell. I think that's about it. So might be kind of a smooth ride.
I feel like everything for you is kind of chillish and kind of a smooth ride. I feel like you're not the kind of guy who gets too worked up over much.
That is true. I
Yeah.
think you had me pegged there. Yeah.
It's a good thing. I wish I was like that, but instead I'm crazy. I'm like George Costanza in here. It ain't good. We got my guy Chief as well in the house, coming with some tournament takes. What up, Chief?
Nothing much, brother. And I'm literally building on this show right now. I'm just doing single entry tonight. I didn't feel like clicking all those buttons over and over and over. I know we got Sim Labs that's going to spit stuff out. Like I just didn't feel like it, Like I got to be, ready to do mass multi-entry. It's a different mindset. I just didn't feel like it today, knowing we had a show. So I'm pretty much going to be in the single entry streets. And I thought about hitting the 888 on DraftKings tonight. I typically play those, upper tier contests as single entries. But it's like, maybe another time.
Just not feeling it. You got to trust your gut. You got to trust your instinct.
Yeah, and here's what's going to happen, Roth. I'm going to ship everything. I'm going to win every contest.
Absolutely.
I'm going to fit it, and I'm going to be sitting here like, why didn't I just put it in?
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is.
That is the nature of the beast. That is exactly what's going to happen. But I'm excited to get your takes, since we all know you're going to take everything down since you're not playing as high volume tonight. Let's talk about this slate a little bit. Taylor, do you want to walk me through? I guess you said it's kind of chill, not a whole lot going on. You just want to dive into a FanDuel cash build, or is there something you want to mention before that?
No, we can do that. So every game starts within 90 minutes of the first lock at 7.
That's nice.
The first game of the night, Detroit and Toronto, is going to be really chalky. We have a lot of value here on both teams. So that'll be interesting. It's going to be a lot of builds with teams or players from both teams and then Luka. So, kind of getting off that for tournaments is probably the way to go as much as you can. These are obviously still some of the best plays on the slate. So kind of pick and choose where you want to fade and where you want to eat it. But yeah, with FanDuel cash build, it is a Luka slate. He's 12-8 on both sites. 12-8 on FanDuel obviously goes a longer way than 12-8 on DK with the higher cap on FanDuel. So I think you just play him in cash. He's Luka. He's reeling off 30-point triple doubles every night. They're playing Golden State. Not a bad spot. They're at home. So I think you just eat that, pay up for him. There's enough value to do it, and you still won't hate the rest of your lineup. Other point guards to consider: Emmanuel Quickly. We have no RJ Barrett for Toronto here. No Gary Trent. Quickly did miss the last game, but that was the only game he missed, so minutes should be okay for him. He's going to get all the usage with Scotty Barnes also out. So I think Quickly for 8-3, he's, I think, cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DK. Shooting guard, point guard eligible. Happy to play him at shooting guard probably. Cade Cunningham, another guy in the first game you can play for 8-6 on both sides. Again, Toronto's been really bad defensively since they made all their trades. And the Pistons have been playing a pretty concentrated rotation with the starters. So Cade looks fantastic. We just got the news that Scottie Pippen Jr. is expected to be available. Memphis is shorthanded, of course. They've been dealing with injuries all year. Pippen, I think we have projected to start tentatively if he's in, which we think he will be at this point. It's kind of questionable with Jordan Goodwin with the two-way contract. We're not certain whether he will be available for this game. So as of now, Pippen looks like a pretty good play, assuming he's in at 4-5 on FanDuel. Point guard only, but cheap value is, kind of fleeting at the guard spots. Trey Mann is also questionable, so maybe Micic could get an upgrade if Mann misses another game, but Micic's salary has come up in recent days, so not super hyped about that. Shooting guard options, Grady Dick is going to play big minutes again with Trent out and Barrett out. We assume he's going to start. He's still 5-2 on FanDuel, looks pretty good in that first game. Klay Thompson started the last game for Golden State with Curry out. They kind of made a change to their lineup before the last game. We're expecting the same arrangement tonight against Dallas. Good matchup. He's only 6'1", shooting guard eligible. Minutes should be okay for him. Don't mind that. Ayo Dosunmu, Ochai Agbaji, a couple other values to consider at shooting guard, but I think it's really just Dick, Quickly, and Clay kind of as the main guys you're looking at here. Let's see. Small forward Bruce Brown, one of the chalkiest plays on the slate, maybe the chalkiest at 5'1", played 38 minutes in the last game after missing some time with a knee injury, I think. Those injuries should open up tons of minutes again tonight, and he's cheap, so fine with getting to that. Dick, I mentioned, of course. Andrew Wiggins started the last game alongside Klay Thompson.
Sorry, Tom.
It's unavoidable. So
I
we might as
know.
well
I
lean into
know.
our
We just got to
immaturity.
get the laugh out early. You're right. I'm sorry.
Let's just
That was
call
on
it
me.
Grady private parts, and
Yeah.
we're all good. Captain Underpants. There's some.
I was good. Taylor giggled after he said it, and that made me lose it. All right.
I saw you smiling. I blame you. You can blame.
All right. Sorry.
I
my
played
bad.
Captain Underpants
Focused.
tonight.
Yeah, we're focused. All right.
Yeah,
We're
we're all on Dick tonight.
We're doing good. All right.
Yeah, Wiggins 30 minutes in the last game started. Play him in either forward spot looks good, assuming he starts again tonight. Dallas is a good matchup for Golden State too. Fontecchio might be a better play on DK than on FanDuel, but Oscar Thompson's out, so Fontecchio is going to start. And in theory, see pretty big minutes for the Pistons. Jimmy Butler looks okay. He's in that Denver-Miami game. Like, there are a lot of really ugly games on this slate, which I think is part of why Golden State, Dallas, and Toronto, Detroit are popping as the best plays or the best games on the slate. But Butler's fine if you land there. I don't hate that. Ditto for Zion at power forward. Cleveland's defense has been bad since they lost to Evan Mobley, so Zion looks pretty good as a mid-range spend. Isaiah Stewart is a guy that pops as a value on both sites in the low fives. His usage is really low. He hasn't had a 20% usage rate in a game since like January, but minutes are there. He's cheap. Toronto's defense is bad, particularly inside. So Stewart as a power forward center play, definitely fine for cash. Not really excited for tournaments, but it is what it is. Kelly Olynyk, maybe we'll see around 30 minutes. That's okay for cash. Pascal Siakam, I think, looks a little better on DK, where you can play him at small forward. And shifting to center, Trey Jameson had a huge game last night. He's 4K flat for Memphis. No Jaren Jackson again tonight. So Jameson should start. Good value. Charlotte against centers, or centers against Charlotte, I guess, is a thing. Very easy cash value at center. If you're paying up, I think Vucevic is in a good spot against Indiana. Don't mind that at all. And Jonte Porter, maybe more of a DK play too. I think you just probably play Jameson as your FanDuel cash center.
Okay. Very good. Let's kick it over to Chief, get some tournament thoughts. Chief, how are you starting off a build here? What is your like overall thought process before you go position by position?
I think if you're playing on FanDuel, you just plug Luke in and start and figure out the rest. I don't think there's any reason on FanDuel. I'm being very specific here. On FanDuel, I don't think there's a reason to fade Luka. It's got some of the highest upside on the slate. And I know he's expensive, but even raw points, like if he gets you 68 fantasy points, that might be enough. I'm not saying it will or won't. I'm saying, like, for him to just absolutely tank you, all these 8K guys are going to probably get 50. For him to not show up getting, I mean, I think our median projection on him is like around 70 anyway. So I'm saying, like, in general, all these 7K, 8K guys that you play, if you fade him, they're going to have to get 50 if he's not successful. Or even if he is successful is what I'm saying. So I think on FanDuel, you're just starting with Luka and you're going from there. I do think the chalk is going to be, pulling in Captain Underpants, pulling in Bruce Brown, even maybe playing it with Emmanuel quickly. That may be okay. Because I do think, and I'm hopping around here just kind of talking through a build today, Roth, rather than like the players. Yeah. I do think there's enough when maybe you're going to decide whether or not you're going to play a Trey Jameson today, who's 4K. Are you going to play, Larry Nance, who's 4,600, and Larry Nance probably isn't going to pop as much as everybody, but these are just cheap guys that are starting to get minutes later in the season, and I think, for tournament purposes, they're all in consideration. Now, Trey Jameson is getting 2,600, but I'm bringing him up early because this is how you can spread that salary out. You plug in Luka, you plug in Jameson, and all of a sudden, it doesn't feel so bad. I mean, you got an average salary of a little over 16,000 ish, and that's what 2 8K players would be worth. So Luka's definitely worth giving up 2 8K players if you can spread out the salary. So I just want to give the people that, because I do think that's a way to get there. Now, in terms of some of my favorite tournament plays, I think these Chicago Bulls players, Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, I think these guys are big time in play for tournaments. We're getting Kobe White at 4%, looks like, or somewhere around there. And I'm going off of my screen rather than lineup HQ for this one. But we've got Kobe White around 4%. We've got DeRozan around 21, Nikola Vucevic around 12. If you're not playing Jameson, obviously, then I think Vucevic, DeRozan, White, those are fantastic plays in tournaments. We've seen the Indiana Pacers, Roth, all season give up tons of fantasy points, and it looks like in a general sense we don't have any interest in the Bulls. I think that's a mistake. They're about the same price on FanDuel and DraftKings. Don't care. I think you get them in any way that you can. I do like this game. Cade Cunningham is one of my favorite tournament plays. Sucks he's projected for a little over 30% on FanDuel, but it is what it is. I mean, this is a great spot for both sides. I think this could be the game where if we were going game stack mode, this would be the game to try to find pieces on both sides. That would be my general synopsis here, because with Indiana, obviously you could play Halliburton, you could play Pascal, but I just don't think we have enough interest in both sides of the game. Whereas in the Indiana game, I think we're concentrated more on the Bulls than Indiana. I do think Aaron Nesmith in that Bulls game, by the way, is getting enough minutes now where you could consider him in tournaments. We've seen some nice performances from him throughout the season. Even most recently, we've seen him play 37 minutes, I think, go over 30 fantasy points. At 5,500 on FanDuel, projected for 14%. That's not too high for my blood on a semi-small slate. So I think he's someone that you could get involved with. In terms of the Brooklyn Nets and the Orlando Magic game, I pretty much X'd that game out. I am playing single entry, but if I wasn't, that would just be a game I just fully scrap. Like, I'm just not playing anyone from that game. We've got the Nuggets, we've got the Heat. Jamal Murray's been on fire. I don't like this game. It's going to be a slow pace. If I was going to play two guys, it'd be Jokic, it'd be Jimmy Butler, and I just let that be it. If I was going to play anyone from that game, that would be it. Cleveland, New Orleans, similar situation. I do think Zion's viable. We're starting to see some upside from him, and I do still love Jared Allen. I mentioned this on the morning grind yesterday. All Jared Allen situations aren't created equal. As long as Mobley's out, Allen's got 60-point upside. As long as he's out, the minute he comes back, you just stop playing him. I still think you can play him in the spot. Don't like the game, but I think he's got enough upside, even with Mitchell back, to hit that. And then in the Charlotte Grizzlies game, I'm just kind of letting this one sit by the wayside outside of Jameson today. I do think Nick Richards is okay. Probably like him a little bit better on DraftKings, but I do think he's okay. But Trey Jameson definitely a guy that I want to play there. And then in the Golden State Mavericks game, obviously I talked about Luka. I prefer to play Gafford on DraftKings. I prefer to play Chris Paul on DraftKings, and that settles it for me.
Okay, good stuff.
Indeed. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, excellent. Did get a note here from, let's see. Oh, it was our guy TJ who said, by the way, Man is in. We got that. And Draymond is now questionable. So, Taylor, do either of those things move the needle for you? Let's say if Draymond was to be out, is there someone who pops into your cash build?
I'm guessing they would start Jackson Davis in that scenario if he's out at center. He's 6'2" on FanDuel, but you can play him at power forward, so I think he's viable. He'd probably be more in play on DK, where he's, I think, still under 5K, even though he's center.
He's 4,900.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that a dude? I mean, you can play him even if Draymond's not out, right? At 4,900 or no?
Yeah, you can for sure. But if he's out, he's probably a smash.
Okay, very good. All right, well, let's dive into a DraftKings build, Taylor. Just walk me through it, position by position, and if there's anything different, be sure to point it out.
Sounds good. So point guard, small forward eligible is Bruce Brown tonight. He's the top play on the slate, arguably on a point per dollar basis. Cheap, he is starting. We just got that confirmation.
But I assume you would put him in at small forward. Is that?
Yeah, he just popped up first when I was looking at point guard.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're playing him as small forward. Just because point guard's loaded quickly. Luka and Cade Cunningham are all point guard only. Luka, obviously the priority, but I think you can play Luka and quickly. You're probably doing that at point guard and guard. Cunningham probably falls by the wayside at this point. especially with that Draymond news. You might want to reserve a center spot, at least one of those two spots. You can play on DK for TJD potentially. Yeah, Marcus Sasser, point guard, shooting guard. He's 3-3 on DK. I think that's the reason he's popping. Oscar Thompson being out potentially opens up a few more minutes, but Sasser is still unlikely to play more than 20 off the bench. I think that's more of a cash play, especially if he's catching ownership on DK. It's hard to get too excited about that, but he's cheap enough to be viable. Quentin Grimes, kind of the same thing, same role off the bench for the Pistons. Grady Dick is clearly the priority, shooting guard, small forward, starting. We got that confirmed for Toronto. Very easy cash play on DK. That really does it. There's not much else to consider at the guard spots. The good plays are very obvious.
I'd like to add that 17 people in the chat have informed me that Donovan Mitchell tweeted, "Let him know," which they are assuming means he's going to play. It'd be a weird thing to tweet if you're like, I'm not playing today, but let him know anyways.
Yeah, I think he's only not played after that once in the last however many times he's done it. So good to know. That team is probably pretty fadeable now if he's in.
Okay.
They were,
all right.
Yeah. Small forward Dick Brown, you can play here. Fontecchio, like I said, looks better on DK for 5-1. I believe we just got their lineup and he is in it. Should see pretty significant minutes for them. Fontecchio is the kind of guy at ownership you might be a little scared to play in tournaments or be over on, but in cash, we don't care about that. So I think he's a good play for 5-1. Siakam, I mentioned being better over here because he has small forward eligibility. I think he is a very strong play in all formats tonight. That kind of does it for small forward. They're very obvious over here too. Power forward, Fontecchio, you can slot in. Jordan Nwora for 3-6, another Raptor to consider off the bench. I guess you can make the same case for Jalen McDaniels. Not a good per minute guy, but he's only 3-4, and he has been playing the last few games with all these injuries for Toronto. I'd feel a little better about Nwora. I think he has a higher ceiling, but McDaniels is viable. I guess you could make the same case for Jalen Smith, probably more of a tournament thing. Zion, Andrew Wiggins, like I mentioned on FanDuel, both look good on DK too. Isaiah Stewart, again, over here. I really don't want to play him, but I feel like I'm likely to do that. But in cash, yeah, definitely play him for 5-1. Or you can. He's not a must, but he's in the player pool. Center Jalen Duren, 6'7", yet another Piston. A little too cheap for the role he plays every night. Noto has him tagged as a core play. Jonte Porter, I mentioned, he's 4K now. He was 3K the other night, but did play significant minutes off the bench against Denver. He has a path to playing time with that team so shorthanded, so I think it's fine for cash if you're looking for a punt center. But I think the play might be just to wait on the TJD thing or just play him outright. Jackson Davis, like we were saying, I think is fine either way. He's been playing a role of late, and he's really good per minute. Trey Jameson is not really popping into all optimals right now, but he is still viable. I think he's kind of been supplanted by Porter among those punt centers, but Jameson might just have to play a ton of minutes with the Grizzlies so shorthanded. So plenty of options at center, and most of them are cheap.
Okay, very good. We'll kick it back to Chief here and get your GPP thoughts. And Chief, simply because we have the time, we have 19 minutes, which is terrifying. Can you go position by position and talk about some of your favorite plays at each spot for me? And I think you're muted.
I am muted. Thank you. You gave me, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? I think you're muted. I love it.
Yes.
The Rock's eyebrow, if you will.
The people's eyebrow. Yeah.
The people's eyebrow.
The Roth's eyebrow.
Yeah. The Roth's eyebrow.
Yeah.
The meteorologist's eyebrow. Yeah, that's what, hopefully we don't see too much of that with Washington this year. Didn't mean to open that up early, Roth. Let's get into point guard. So at point guard, obviously, for me, our producer, Steve, is incredible. Incredible, Steve. Incredible, I must say. I'm going to have I don't want to say a ton because I'm playing single entry, but I am playing Emmanuel quickly tonight. I think he's one of the top plays on the board. I did kind of run some lineups because I want to see how this came out at point guard. It didn't give me nearly as much Luka as I thought it would because of guys like Quickly because of guys like Brown. And I also bumped Cade Cunningham's projection a touch. I think he's going to have an explosive performance tonight. So I really like Cade Cunningham. He's one of my top options at point guard outside of the obvious Luka. So, folks, listen, don't get this misconstrued here. Luka is the obvious play. He's fantastic. I'm not telling you to fade Luka, but I do like these guys in the 8K range, which are Quickly, who's going to get massive ownership, and Cade Cunningham, who's not going to get as much as Quickly. Bruce Brown getting more ownership than anyone, and for good reason. I do think Chris Paul is in play, a lot more in play at 6,900 on DraftKings. Look, I know he's old. He's got to play minutes. We saw him take 19 shots in the last game. I don't think Chris Paul gets to 19 shots here, but I do think he's very serviceable if this game is competitive. I think the assists will be there. If Chris Paul scores 15-ish points, 10 assists, 3 or 4 rebounds, a block, a steal, like we're right in line with where we want to be. So I am, I'm perfectly fine with taking on Chris Paul. Equally, I like our guys from the Bulls, which is going to be Kobe White at 7,800. I bumped his projection a bit as well. Definitely think he's a guy that we can consider at the point guard position. If you're looking on the cheap end, and I think maybe you're playing Bruce Brown, but I'm not playing on any cheap point guards tonight. At shooting guard, obviously, Captain Underpants, Grady Private Parts is definitely in play here. Good. I got a smile out of Roth. Fantastic. He's definitely in play.
Grady Private Parts is a pretty good one. That's a pretty good nickname. I approve of that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, he's kind of the obvious play here. We saw what he could do. The main thing is the minutes, though. Like if he just had this random explosion, Roth, then I don't think we'd be considering him. But the bottom line is he's going to play big minutes in a spot against another really bad defensive team. So while Toronto may be terrible defensively since the trade, and they are, the Detroit Pistons aren't anywhere near where they should be defensively as well. So I really like him tonight. For tournaments. I don't think we need to fade him because of the ownership. I talked about Aaron Nesmith. He's a little bit cheaper. I do still like him. I know the projection isn't great, but he does have an outside shot at mid-30s fantasy points. He's not going to get nearly as much ownership as some of these other guys. So I like him a ton. I think he's a guy that we should be including, Roth, in our tournament bills here. I'm not going to get too many single entry, but if I was mass multi-entering, he is definitely a guy that I would be including here. And those are some of my main targets at that position. As we move to small forward, obviously, Bruce Brown, you can play him there as well. You can play Fontecchio at small forward or power forward. I think he's big time in play. He's getting 40% ownership. Someone I think isn't going to get as much as they should today, Pascal Siakam. You can play him at small forward or power forward, 7,200. Roth, if you've been in this business long enough, there are times where guys just start getting too cheap. You
just got to play them.
You just have to start. Yep. You just have to start because we don't know when the 50-point explosion is going to come, and it's not going to be as often as it was when he was in Toronto flying solo without Scotty and all these other guys. And it's also not going to be as often with Indiana because they've got all these compliments of players around him and Tyrese Halliburton. But there will be nights where 50 fantasy points show up, and the perfect time to take chances is when he's 7,200, not 8,200. Mm-hmm. I really like Pascal Siakam for tournaments on DraftKings. Another one of my favorite plays. I talked about the Bulls. Love DeMar DeRozan. 8,200, $1,000 more than Pascal Siakam, but in the same game, up-tempo matchup, really like him. I talked about Jimmy Butler already on FanDuel. I do still like him on DraftKings. I don't like this matchup, but Jimmy Butler, if you just kind of check and look what he's doing, the minutes are there. The production's been there pretty consistently. Now, I'm not saying he's put up 50 fantasy points every game, but generally speaking, you're getting 40s with upside for 50s in all these games they're playing down the stretch. So I really, really, really like Jimmy Butler here in this particular spot. As we move to the power forward position, this is an interesting spot for me because a lot of the power forwards I like you can play them at small forward. So I'm kind of getting interchangeable with some of those guys. But I do like Zion. Zion's been flashing some upside. Tough matchup with Cleveland, but a competitive matchup, Roth. And so when matchups are competitive, I'm much more likely to take a shot on a guy in a more weird spot. Cleveland's a good defensive team, but if the matchup is going to go down to the wire, this is a spot where I think Zion is on the floor, 8,300, excuse me. I like him a ton. Jonathan Isaac, we did get the salary saver tag from Stevie today. This is what we talked about on the morning grind last night. Just a $3,500. As Dan Bach would say, we haven't heard him on the show in a while. A 3K crapper. That's what Dan used to call them, the 3K crappers. If you guys remember that, 3,500. He's probably a 3K crapper of the day. Pair him up with Grady Private Parts, and you got yourself a big time douche. Just kidding. Also in that particular game, we've got Paolo Banchero. I didn't want to consider Paolo Banchero because I did think he was a little bit too expensive. But on DraftKings, where he's got some double upside, I don't hate it. I know he's slightly expensive, but if anybody's going to get there, it's going to be him. And then at center, to me, Rob, this is where we get all of our extra value here. You got TJD at 4,900. You got Trey Jameson at 4,300. You got Jonte Porter at 4K. You've got Jalen Duren now, and all values are created equally. But Jalen Duren is 6,700. We've paid over 8K for him sometimes this season. This is a spot against the Toronto Raptors. If you can get him in to some lineups, I think you should be doing it. I mean, if he goes off for 50 and you get a couple of these 8K guys that go off for 50, this is where you end up saying, I might not need Luka tonight. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So I like him a ton. I do like Nikola Vucevic once again in that game. I talked about Jared Allen. Jared Allen's another guy I like. Isaiah Stewart, you can get him at power forward and center. I hate Isaiah Stewart, but man, he's 5K. Asar Thompson is out. It may help him get a few more fantasy points to add to that total. Another 3K crapper, going Larry Nance, not picking up nearly as much ownership as other guys. But if you haven't been following Rob, Larry Nance has been picking up this interesting collection of minutes the last two games. 26 against Philly, 28 against Atlanta in the last game. If Larry Nance gets 28 minutes, at some point he's going to pop. He had 25 DK points in that start. So I'm just saying he's another cheap guy that you could possibly squeeze in there that I don't think people are thinking about. And those are my spots for tournaments tonight on DraftKings.
So with all that value at center, and there was like 5
I am double punching
plays
at center today for sure. I've got two. I'm double punching. I've got one at center, one at utility.
Yeah. And then is anyone playing Jokic? Like, can you just go to Jokic and get him at no owned and hope he goes off for like a 70-80 burger?
You could. You absolutely can.
Yeah, but you're not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like that game. So that's really how, and I think most people don't like that game. We've got Jokic projected for 5% ownership tonight, Ross, for what it's worth.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy. And it's a competitive game. Like, it's not like there's a massive spread there. I realize the total's low. I get that.
Yeah. To me, it's the Luka effect and these cheap centers. Wouldn't you agree, Taylor? Yeah. More people want to play Luka than Jokic, and all the value in terms of the extra cheap value outside of Toronto is pretty much all at center.
Yeah, it's really easy to play Luka, so his projected ownership might not be high enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like the pivot to Jokic. Call me crazy, but I want that dude at 5%.
Let me say this too, Rob. All the 4K centers or centers below 5K, they're all center only too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if you could play him at power forward, Jokic may have picked up a little bit more. TJD, Trey Jameson, Jonte Porter, they're all on center only.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Excellent run through, guys, as always. Oh, yeah, we got the people's eyebrow coming back. If you smell what the Roth is cooking, we're going to take some questions here from the chat. Of course, starting with the Discord, that's where the cool kids hang out. Let me see what we got there. Scrolling up just a little bit. FanDuel cash question, Taylor. This is from Aside. It's a 2v2. Cade Stewart or Cliff Paul and Fontecchio?
I think the second one, just because Stewart, I just hate playing Stewart, and I don't think he's got a very high ceiling. Not that you care about that for cash, but second one.
Okay. Jumping up one question, actually, to Jay Sams. It is a 2-part FanDuel question. Chief, is it okay to play Brown and Agbaji together?
Yeah. I don't see any problem with that.
Okay. And then do you have any issue, again, FanDuel, foregoing Luka for a more balanced build with like DeMar or Zion Siakam type build?
I don't hate it. I am doing that on DraftKings. I don't have a problem with it, Roth. It's going to be a very uncomfortable night until the end of this thing. Trust me.
Right. Okay. DK Cash question back to you here, Taylor. Quickly Olynyk or that's not a real question. Smoke and Jay says FanDuel single entry. Agbaji or Grimes, Chief, as a scrub piece in a Toronto-Detroit game stack?
I'm going to have to go Agbaji because I think his minutes are more secure.
Okay, great. DK Cash, Miles Turner and Jonte Porter or Duren and Nwora?
Probably the second one, slightly.
Okay. FanDuel single entry, Taylor, I'll give this one to you. Is Quentin Grimes okay? FanDuel single entry.
I think he's okay.
And then Chief, I'll kick it to you. Another FanDuel single entry, which is Pippen, DeRozan, Butler, or Luka, Stewart, Grimes.
It would absolutely be Pippen, DeRozan, Butler, but I think you need to change your decision making for what it's worth.
Okay, DK scoring system question, and it is rank these bowls in order of most likely to fail. So we'll call this a cash question here. Vooch, DDR, and Colby White cheese white.
I think Vooch is in the best spot, so I think he's the best play of that group. I'd rank White last, but not a huge gap.
Nice. Omar says, Chief, rank them FanDuel GPP, Zion, Butler, Miles Bridges.
I would go Zion, Bridges, Butler.
Pointing out here, Steve, our producer, says, hey, we've got 210 people who voted and only 110 people who hey girls, Dad is working. Okay.
I just came in by ourselves.
I know. Okay, go see Mama. I love you, sweet girls.
Mama.
Grant. I hope you guys heard that. FanDuel GPP, Grant Williams, GG, or Neesmith. Hi, girls.
Neesmith. Roth, I've got 3 girls. I get it.
Is Kuminga okay in a DK GPP?
Yeah.
Did you hear my 2-year-old? I go to Mama, and she goes, "Mama's pooping." Oh, excellent timing. All right, that threw me for a loop. There. Large field DK GPP, Clay or Podziemski? I can't afford Chris Paul.
Podziemski, but let's find someone else. But I take Party.
Okay, well, we're 3 minutes until lock. If you want to sit on my lap, I'm not going to stop it at this point. Are you still searching for somebody, Chief?
No, Podziemski.
Okay, thank you. FanDuel GPP, and Taylor, I'll give this one to you. Halliburton, Olynyk, or Kobe White and Jackson Davis?
I think Kobe White, Jackson Davis.
Okay, what are your thoughts on MPJ as a low-owned play?
I'm okay with it. Not lovely, but
All right, doable. What else do we got? DK GPP, Cam Thomas or Duren? I feel like we kind of love Duren, right?
Yeah, Duren for me for sure.
Yeah. Nico66 in the YouTube chat, by the way, hit us with the thumbs up, says, what are your thoughts on Saric with the green downgrade? Any interest in Saric?
Not right now.
No. Okay. What else do we got? All the way from South Carolina by way of Mexico, Daryl George.
Yes.
Daryl.
My boy Daryl.
Says, Yahoo Cash question, Taylor, you want Luka and Ayton or Halliburton and Siakam?
Luka and Ayton.
Okay, very good. DK GPP, is GG Jackson not viable tonight? Is he not viable tonight?
I mean, he's just okay. I don't think he's anything special.
Okay. Is James Wiseman in play? Chief, you got any Wiseman?
More on DK than FanDuel for sure. DK, he's under 4K.
Okay. Jameson at center, FanDuel cash. Like that, FanDuel cash is center is the position where there's a bunch of plays. Is Jameson just kind of one of those good plays, Taylor? Or
Yeah, he's in play for sure. I had him as the guy, but I think he's still the guy. Jackson Davis is just a lot more expensive over there. So fine with Jameson.
P. Meyer says, can we consider Sasser on DK? His name was mentioned. I don't remember if that was FanDuel or DK.
It was DK.
It was DK, yeah.
He's in play too. Yeah, he's cheap enough.
Very good. How about Goodwin in a DK GPP, Chief?
No.
All right. FanDuel Cash 2v2, Taylor Grimes, Kellyo. Yeah, I love you. Grimes, Kellyo, or Wiggy, Grant Williams?
First one, I think.
Okay. And then who benefits the most if Draymond is out? It was Jackson Davis, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
His minutes will be very stable.
Let's see if we got anything else here. We're coming up on less than 1 minute until lock. And what else do we got? Chief, how much Zion and Vooch do you have? Is it a ton? That's an objective question. Do you have a ton of Zion and Vooch?
I technically have none because I'm playing single entry. If I was in mass multi-entry, I'd have about 25% of both of them.
That makes sense. Okay. FanDuel cash question: Grimes, Kellyo, or Nansen Fontecchio? You going, Mama?
Grimes, Kellyo.
With that, we are quickly coming up on lock. Oy, there you go. Okay. See, I figure they'll eventually realize it's not very exciting to. It's not very exciting to just sit here and not do anything. Large field tournament. Think that having Luka is worth trying to find 3 sneaky good punts, 4K and under. And Chief, I feel like your answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I think you already have. Honestly, I mean, if you're plugging in Luka, Grady Private Parts, Jamison, TJD, like you've already got him and 3 guys under 5K. So
the
he said 4K and under. Sorry, my bad.
And my other thought is that sneaky enough? Is that different enough if you're just going like Luka and these obvious value dudes?
I think if you can do it with Jonte Porter, Larry Nance, and maybe one other 3K guy, like there's enough 3K guys for you to pull it off because around them you should have some other good players. I still think these 4K guys are better than the 3K guys. That's going to be my concern.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Taylor, we've hit the lock. Anything you want to add before we bounce on out of here?
No, I think we ran it down pretty well.
Okay, I think you did as well, good sir, as always. I probably have a read that I should have read. Hey, did you know you could take RotoGrinders for a test run right now? 3-day trial pass, you get access to every sport except NASCAR. Vroom, vroom. At the low price of $19.99. Never been a better time to join the RotoGrinders community. You get the 3-day trial link in the description below. $20. We're going to try to make sure you win that money back easily in 3 days. So make sure you are checking that out. With that, I think it is time to bounce on out of here. So for Taylor, for Chief, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been